Hey dreamers, welcome to this cozy sanctuary for deep sleep. I've been crafting original, slow-living and cozy fantasy sleep stories for over 25 years and sharing them on YouTube since 2007. In that time, I'm proud to say that my bedtime stories have been listened to over 30 million times, helping countless people to find peace from worry and anxiety and to drift comfortably asleep. However, recently, original human-crafted content has been getting lost in the noise of all the AI sleep content, and I've been finding that the AI content is often pushed above human-made content. So I'd like to ask you a favor. It really helps the channel if you engage with the content in some way, whether that's liking, commenting, hyping, or subscribing and sharing the content with others and choosing to watch more videos on the channel. So I'll do my best to help you sleep, and if you like this, it would mean the world to me if you can engage with it in some way. I love telling relaxing stories around a campfire. There's nothing better than getting cozy and drifting asleep to a gently crackling fire and the sounds of nature. So before you fall asleep, just take a moment to settle down by the campfire with me as I regale you with a calming tale. And before the tale, you can begin to calm your mind and body, allowing your eyes to close and allowing yourself to begin to relax. And as you begin to comfortably drift asleep, I don't know whether you'll drift asleep faster to the sound of my voice, or whether it'll be to the spaces between my words. And as you comfortably fall asleep, you can take a moment to get comfortable in your own way and imagine a healing light softly, slowly, and gently passing down from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, relaxing gently down through you as I count from 10 down to 1. And with each count, your mind can quieten and calm as the muscles soften and relax. And you can begin the process of drifting peacefully asleep. From 10, that healing light relaxing the muscles around the top of the head, around the back of your head, gently, carefully relaxing the muscles around the side of your head, around your temple, your forehead. And with each out-breath, that relaxation can deepen so peacefully, so comfortably, as it flows down around the eyes and around the ears. 9. That relaxation moving down around the jaw, relaxing that jaw, allowing the tongue to relax, the lips to relax, the nostrils to gently relax. With that relaxation moving carefully, slowly, as that healing light passes down the back of the neck, softening and calming those muscles. around the side of the neck, the front of the neck, down from the head, gradually moving that calming, healing light out across the shoulders, the shoulder blades, relaxing those muscles like a deep massage passing through your mind and body. 8. As that relaxation begins to move down those arms, and I don't know which arm the relaxation will move down fastest, whether it'll be the right arm or the left arm, but you can be aware of that healing light spreading gently down those arms, around the biceps, triceps, down into the forearms. 7. Moving all the way down to the wrists, the palms of the hands, down to the fingertips, and perhaps as that relaxation continues through those arms with each out-breath, the arms begin to feel heavier or lighter or develop some other sensation as relaxation sets in. And you know the process for sleep is that the body begins to relax, and while the body becomes physically relaxed, so the mind begins to drift and dream, initially to brief reveries before settling on the first dream of the night. 6. And that healing light can spread down from the shoulders and down around the chest, the upper back, softening and relaxing those muscles, gently calming the breathing, helping you drift deeper and deeper into the experience. 5. The healing light moving down towards the stomach, the lower back, the sides, relaxing those muscles as it goes, bringing a deep sense of peace and calm to your upper body, releasing any tension, perhaps occasionally finding yourself shifting just a little to get a little more comfortable. 4. With that relaxation spreading down around your buttocks, down into your upper parts of your legs. 3. Passing that relaxation down towards the lower part of your legs, perhaps those legs feeling heavier and heavier, maybe as the body becomes deeply relaxed and your focus drifts inside more on what's going on for you in your mind. You lose some awareness of the body as it becomes incredibly still. 2. The relaxation spreading down to your feet, calming softly, relaxing all the way down to the tips of your toes. And 1, as the final wave of relaxation pulses gently through you, from the top of your head, down through your body, all the way down to the tips of your toes, as your mind begins to drift and dream and wander to the gentle sounds of nature around you, the soft crackling of the campfire, drifting with those sounds into tonight's sleep story. Imagining a woman walking along one rainy night. She's got an umbrella held above her head. She's walking down a street. She can hear the way the rain hits the umbrella. She can hear the sound of that rain. She can feel the slight spray of water that finds its way to her face. She can hear the sound of each footstep and other sounds occasionally of other people hurrying out of the rain. And yet she just continues to walk purposefully along the path. And she can hear cars passing by and see them pass by. And the sound of the rain, and the sound that cars make driving along a wet road. And after a while of walking, she turns off the road, turns off this path, and heads into a wooded area. And she notices how in this wooded area far less rain is reaching her umbrella. She can hear that rain hitting the leaves above her, and larger drops dropping from the leaves to the ground, and the sound of those raindrops splashing on the ground. And the slight rustling sound of the leaves in the breeze and moving with the rain. As she continues to walk and notices the different sound of each footstep here compared to out on the path by the road. And the further away from the road she walks, the quieter it gets. And the deeper into the woods she goes. And she finds her way all the way through the woods until she comes to a clearing. And she can notice the muted green colour of the grass. As the rain gives a slight grey-blue tinge to everything. She walks across that grass, all the way to the edge, and over on that far edge is a bank that leads down to a beach. And she stands on that edge, gazing off down that bank, down to the beach, noticing the way the water is rolling in onto the shore, noticing how, with this rain, the water seems a little rougher than usual. And a little bit more churned up, and perhaps has a little bit more of a greeny colour in the water. And she watches as those waves roll in onto the shore, and the white water rolling and sloshing along the shore, and the sound of it pulling back again to the sea. And in this clearing she looks around and and she can't see far out to sea because of the rain. But she can notice some areas of light, some rays of sun striking the ocean in various points off in the distance. And she knows the rain will begin to clear a bit soon. And she wanders along this clearing, she wanders along the grass, gazing down towards the sea. And she's out here on holiday. Supposed to be a summer holiday. And yet, here she is in the rain. But she doesn't let that deter her. She's still enjoying being out in nature. Still enjoying gazing out over the ocean, hearing the sound of the rain on the umbrella. And after a while she finds some steps down to the seafront, and she follows those steps down and walks through some stones, noticing the sound of the footsteps changing from steps to stones, the feeling of the ground beneath the feet changing from steps to stones, and then down onto damp sand, with the feet sinking slightly with each footstep, and being able to look down at the feet and notice the way the sand dries a little with each footstep, the water moves away from the feet. And she walks along the seafront, aware of the sea on the shore being louder now than it was before. And she notices the way that the sea breaks on different rocks that are dotted through the sea, unsure whether these rocks were placed there to break the water intentionally or have always just naturally been there. She can feel that watery air on her skin, on her cheeks, smelling the slight salty smell of the spray from the sea as she explores along the shore. And while she walks along the shore, so she's gazing at the ground, aware that sometimes fossils are found along this area. And as she gazes around, she discovers what looks like a shell embedded in a rock. And it's just the shadow of the shell that was once there. It's just a fossil of the shell. She picks it up and looks at it and runs her finger over that, feeling the bumps, the smoothness, the weight of that in her hands. And she unzips a pocket on her coat and places it in the pocket and zips the pocket back up again before continuing along the seafront. And she thinks she sees someone sitting on one of the rocks a little further away. And she tries to squint a little through the rainy sky, and she's sure that there's someone there. And she walks closer and closer, wondering who they are, what they're doing. why they're out here. They clearly don't have an umbrella. And as she gets closer, she's surprised by what her eyes see. And she can't believe her eyes. And she thinks maybe some salt water has got in her eyes, so she dries one of her hands and wipes her eyes. And all that's done is made it clearer that what she's seeing is true. It looks like what she would describe as a mermaid, just resting on a rock. She walks closer and closer, and she's surprised to notice that mermaid smile at her as she gets close to it. And while she's close to the mermaid and the mermaid smiles, she thinks to herself that clearly this mermaid is friendly. She walks over and has no idea whether she'll be able to communicate with them or not, and is shocked when she introduces herself and the mermaid responds and seems to be able to talk the same language perfectly fine. And she asks why this is, and the mermaid explains that she swims in these waters, and so she hears the sounds of people talking here. She hears the sounds of people on the shore. And so, just over years and years, she's picked up the language, but she also has another land that she comes from. And sometimes when the weather's like this, she likes to come up to the surface. She knows there's normally no one around on the surface, and get to see what life is like out here, outside of the ocean. She explains how the sounds, time, everything is so different underwater. And the reason this woman enjoys going to the beach on holiday is because of her love of water, her love of the beach. She loves being in water and by water and the smell of water. And the mermaid explains that she too enjoys the beach, not just being underwater, but the sights, the sounds, the textures. That things have a totally different texture, totally different feeling when they're out of the water. That sound is totally different. And so it's like being a whole new other world. And after a while of talking, while the woman holds the umbrella over her head, she notices that the rain begins to subside. The sun begins to creep out from behind the clouds. So she puts down her umbrella, carries on talking to this mermaid. She wants to know everything. Where is she from? How can she be real? Why, if it was this easy for her to stumble across the mermaid, has no one else ever done it? Why didn't she just swim off when she saw someone approaching? And the mermaid explained that she'd considered swimming off, but she was curious about this person who would be out in this weather. And she thought about how it might look if she dived into the water. She explained that she thought this woman looked kind and compassionate, looked so caring that there was a risk that if she had seen her dive into the water, she might have assumed that someone had fallen off the rock and had got into trouble in the water and might try and dive in after her and could get themselves into trouble in the water, when really there's no one that needs saving. And the woman and the mermaid continue to converse as the sun continues to come out. And the mermaid said she was worried that soon others may start to come to the beach to walk dogs, to take advantage of this dry spell, and she didn't really want to be seen. And as she was talking, something strange happened. The woman noticed that her tail turned into two legs. That as the sun dried her out, so she transformed and looked just like a human. And the woman asked about this, fascinated, asking, have you ever thought of just leading a life, going exploring when you've got two legs? And the mermaid said that the trouble is she can't control it. When she dries out, she has two legs. But as soon as she gets wet, her body automatically has a response that turns her legs into a tail, and that she couldn't risk this happening while wandering down a street. And she said that it's possible to become a mermaid. And she said that if the woman's interested, she can visit where the mermaid has come from. She explained that we all have an evolutionary past, and part of that past is aquatic. And that mermaids and mermen have the power to trigger certain epigenetic changes within people through the power of touch. That can bring back some of those aquatic properties. And the woman was curious about this. She thought it would be wonderful to visit where this mermaid came from. But she also wanted to know, how is it that the mermaid's body knows whether it's raining or not, or whether it's wet or not? Wondering if the mermaid was wearing trousers and waterproof shoes and didn't get their legs wet. Would they turn back into a tail or not? Would they turn into a tail if they got their hands wet? And the mermaid said she'd never been far enough to find out. She'd never worn clothes. She didn't know what it was like to wear clothes. That you don't wear clothes when you're underwater. So they just get tangled around you. And nobody makes clothes underwater. So she'd never had an opportunity to discover. And the woman and this mermaid found themselves so absorbed in conversation, found that somehow they seemed to just gel so well. Time seemed to just fly by as they became absorbed in the moment. As if they'd known each other for a lifetime. And the mermaid touched the woman gently on the shoulders, running her fingertips very, very lightly from her shoulders down her arms, down the outside of her arms, then very lightly down the inside of her arms to her elbows, and the inside of her elbows, and then very lightly under the jaw, on either side, around the neck, and then very lightly down the back. And the woman could feel tingling. And felt her mind wander. And felt a bit of a shudder. As changes began to happen inside her body. And the mermaid looked her square in the eyes and said, "Trust me." And the woman said, "I do." And they leapt off the rock together, splashing into the water, followed by rays of light and bubbles rising to the surface as the sound changed, as everything became more muted and quiet, and tones seemed to stretch out and deepen. And the woman held her breath initially, and the mermaid held her hand and looked at her calmly in a kind and friendly way. And said again, "Trust me." And the woman relaxed. Her jaw relaxed. Her body was relaxed, floating in water. She just relaxed so deeply and instinctively seemed to breathe underwater as if it was a perfectly natural thing. And then she noticed that the mermaid's tail had returned, and she didn't know at what point. She wondered whether it was the second the mermaid splashed into the water. She didn't see it change from legs to a tail. And the mermaid held her hand as they swam deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper under the sea, seeing fish swimming around, passing floating seaweed, relaxing deeper and more comfortable under the sea. And as they went deeper, the woman noticed some glowing off in the distance, and they swam down towards that glowing. And the mermaid said that ordinarily you can't see that glowing, that the only reason why she can see the glowing and see this reality down here is because they're together, and because of the change to her senses, the change to her way of being, that's allowed her to breathe underwater. It allows her senses to perceive what they once couldn't. And they swim down deeper all the way to those lights. And find a whole town of merpeople interacting with each other, getting on with each other. It looked surprisingly familiar, and yet it was under the sea. And the mermaid said she wanted to take her to one of her favourite places down here. And she took the woman down what was like a quiet path that was away from the hustle and bustle of that mer town, and took her out to an area that seemed to plunge off deeply into darkness, and sat down on the edge, and the woman sat down on the edge with her, gazing out across the deep open ocean. And the woman could hear the sounds of whales, could see some humpback whales swimming, could recognize their intelligence, the intent in their behaviors. And she watched as those humpback whales just passed by, going about their daily life, and huge shoals of fish swam around. And there was so much life down here. And some fish and some other animals down here seem to have bioluminescence, as her eyes, accustomed to the darkness, the dimness, as she gazed down, she could see glowing light shows playing out before her of a rainbow of colours. And she sat here on this edge, up close with the mermaid. And she started having this feeling like somehow this was who she was meant to spend the rest of her life with. And she thought that seems like an unusual feeling, but she's felt such a connection to this person over such a short period of time. And she openly, just instinctively told the mermaid this, and the mermaid reciprocated that she too seems to have felt this incredible connection, like somehow this was meant to be. Somehow they were meant to meet. And somehow fate had brought them together, and they could either go against fate and decide it's ridiculous to feel like you found your soulmate that quick and move on and miss the opportunity, or to explore it, to spend time together and to enjoy being in the moment, enjoying being with the person in that moment who it feels right to be with. And they both felt it felt right to be with each other, but they came from totally different worlds. They had no idea how or whether it was possible to make it work. The woman wanted to know how long she can manage to stay underwater for. How long will the changes to her body last? The mermaid said that the changes can last as long as she wants. The changes only reverse when she takes a gasp of air, and then the air triggers changes to breathe again on land, and they didn't know how they could make it work. The woman had a life, a job. She went into work every day, did her job, and then when she had an opportunity, she'd go on holiday for a little while to the beach, and then go back and carry on working, and after work be too tired to do anything, so she would just work and sleep and work and sleep, go for a break for a while on holiday, and then work and sleep, work and sleep. And if she suddenly disappeared, people would be worried about her. And they didn't know how you could tell humans that there are merpeople, that humans wouldn't believe it. And she couldn't just say, I'm going to move and live underwater. But it was early days of their relationship. They knew they would work all that out. They just knew they were each other's soulmate and had to be together. They decided that at some point in the future, the mermaid would come out on land, and they would figure out the extent of her legs turning into a tail. What triggers that? Whether they can just make sure she's wearing waterproof trousers and shoes, or whatever it is that's needed. And if not, perhaps the woman can say that she's just moving abroad, moving away, and she's going travelling, and that she'll let people know from time to time and keep in contact with people saying where she is. And then she could move and live with the mermaid, but she wondered what the mermaid eats, what the mermaid's life is like. And this was all stuff they had to explore, coming from two totally different worlds and finding love. They just had to have the courage to explore love. To have love where you find it. And they both just sat there gazing out, arm in arm, resting on each other, watching the underwater world go by, confident that they were going to lead a long and happy life together, but unsure yet as to how. But being comfortable with the unknown, comfortable with the uncertainty, and excited by what they've got to discover in the future, as together they drift and float into a reverie, dreaming about what the future might hold, and the wonders they might experience.